life happens in chapters. I think you guys are all sort of old enough to sort of start to grasp that truth by now. And I think never forget the people you work for are people who once were in your spot. And so when we say life happens in chapters, I don't want to speak for everybody because everybody has different experiences of what their 20s and what their 30s are like. But as you sort of think about your chapters in those kind of clean cut decade terms of like, what are your 20s and how are you going to spend your 30s? How are you going to spend your 40s? But there was a previous generation of advertising that sort of glorified overworking. And I was overworked. And I'll tell you that I loved it because I was ambitious and I was in my mid to late 20s and I didn't have a lot going on in my life. And I liked to work nights and I liked to work weekends because I felt like it was a privilege to have found this industry and not be a lawyer. And I felt like someone was going to come and stand in my doorway and be like, all right, motherfucker, the jig is up. You got to go be a lawyer now. To which I would have said, thank you for letting me do this as long as I got to. And so when I say life happens in chapters and when I say never forget the people you work for now, they were once in your spot and maybe they had no families and maybe they worked maniacally and and they're now probably in a different chapter of their lives where they want to be more locked into family. They want to be, they don't find it as glamorous anymore to be in hotels all the time or on shoots in a way that maybe younger, hungrier creatives or less experienced creatives would find that incredibly appealing. And so I worked at CAA for a couple of years. Like I used to fly from LA to Detroit. And what I realized the power of that was like, what I represented to my boss was a dozen flights to Detroit a year that he didn't have to take. And so that was incredibly additive to him. And so, when we talk about making more money, having more influence and control, having more client interaction, that promotion really starts with, how are you additive to your boss in a way that maybe removes his or her burden or lessens his or her burden? That is sort of a very sort of accelerated pathway.